confirmation of Ms. Markle as a guest judge on MasterChef Australia shows that she is absolutely making money off her so-called royal connections.
A dish fit for a duchess. Those 6 words just torpedoed whatever remained of the Sandringham Summit agreement. MasterChef Australia has officially confirmed that Meghan Markle's guest judging episode will air July 26th on Channel 10, and the challenge she's setting for contestants centers entirely on her royal title. Not the producers, not the network executives. Meghan herself is asking contestants to create a dish fit for a duchess, which means she cannot blame anyone else for this one. This confirmation landed during what might be the most catastrophic week the Sussexes have experienced since leaving the royal family. Prince Harry just watched his lawsuit against Associated Newspapers collapse in spectacular fashion, with all 97 allegations rejected and all 55 articles found to be lawfully sourced. The judge delivered an unequivocal verdict that left Harry facing potential costs of £50 million, while his wife secured television deals half a world away. And somewhere in between the courtroom humiliation and the cooking show announcement, the couple managed to squeeze in a heavily supervised tea with King Charles that lasted exactly 1 hour. The MasterChef appearance directly violates both the spirit and the specific terms of the 2020 Sandringham Summit, the agreement hammered out to prevent the Sussexes from commercially exploiting their royal connections after they announced their departure from working royal life. Media Week reporting confirms Meghan will set the challenge herself, asking contestants to cook with seasonal ingredients including Brussels sprouts, celery, and Australia's famous macadamia nuts. Prince lemons, apples, mandarins, and strawberries were also available to chefs along with Australian honey to sweeten the dishes. The irony is thick enough to slice with one of those MasterChef knives. Here is the bizarre contradiction that nobody seems willing to address. Meghan's spokesperson previously claimed she was very frustrated when co-stars called her royalty on camera during filming. Yet the entire challenge is built on her being a duchess. You cannot have it both ways. Either the royal connection matters and you want it acknowledged, or it does not and you want distance from it. Meghan appears to want the commercial benefits of the title while publicly performing frustration at being associated with it. This is the same woman who, according to reports, once had school children at the LA tar pits introduced to the Duchess of Sussex. The pattern is consistent. Consider the actual credentials at play here. Meghan was a working duchess for 22 months, most of which she spent on holiday, traveling internationally, or on maternity leave. She never attended an official state banquet during her time as a senior royal, not once. The woman asking Australian home cooks to prepare dishes worthy of royalty never actually experienced the formal dining occasions that define what royal cuisine looks like at the highest level. What exactly qualifies her to judge whether a Brussels sprout preparation meets Duchess standards? The timing of this announcement could not be worse for optics. While Meghan secures her television appearance and campaigns for Emmy recognition, Harry sits with mounting legal bills that could reshape their entire financial situation. The MasterChef episode represents everything the Sandringham Summit was designed to prevent, and yet here we are, watching it unfold in real time on Australian television. Channel 10 will have ensured contestants signed extensive agreements, and the full story of what happened during filming may not emerge until those contracts expire. But this television appearance is just one piece of a much messier week for the Sussexes. Because while Meghan was finalizing cooking show details, Harry was watching his legal crusade against British newspapers collapse in the most public and humiliating way imaginable. Prince Harry's lawsuit against Associated Newspapers did not just fail, it was obliterated in a way that legal experts say could reshape media litigation for years to come. Mr. Justice Nicklin rejected all 97 allegations Harry brought against the Daily Mail and its sister publications. Every single article, all 55 of them, was found to be lawfully sourced through traditional journalistic methods. The judge made something abundantly clear in his ruling. There was no evidence to support any of Harry's claims about phone hacking, illegal surveillance, or unlawful news-gathering practices. The entire case rested on Harry's apparent belief that any story published about him without an official press release must have been obtained illegally. The court disagreed completely. The financial fallout is staggering. Harry and his co-litigants, including Sir Elton John, David Furnish, and Baroness Doreen Lawrence, now face potential costs exceeding £50 million. Insurance policies reportedly cover approximately £14 million total, which leaves a shortfall of around £36 million that someone needs to find. A costs hearing scheduled for the end of July will determine exactly how much the group must pay to Associated Newspapers, but early estimates suggest the figure will be substantial. What emerged before the verdict made things even more embarrassing for the prince. Harry's legal team attempted to settle with the Mail before the judgment was handed down. They knew they were losing and wanted an exit. The Daily Mail refused, insisting on a full trial and complete exoneration. Paul Dacre, the executive editor of Associated Newspapers, later expressed something resembling pity for what he called a confused young man attacking the very newspaper his mother Diana had trusted and liked. Harry's response to the verdict made a bad situation dramatically worse. He released a statement calling the outcome a complete and obvious whitewash. The Times newspaper, widely regarded as the establishment voice of the United Kingdom, responded by calling for Harry's Counselor of State title to be stripped. When the Times makes that kind of editorial demand, the political establishment tends to listen.
Prince Harry should not even be a prince. He is embarrassing the British royal family. And if it's not enough to accuse the judiciary of being part of a conspiracy against you, even though you're a privileged member of the royal family.
The paper argued that in the face of his seemingly strong desire publicly to confront, oppose, and malign the institutions of the British state and their decisions, his constitutional role within the UK should not continue. The deeper irony exposed during the trial involved Charlotte Griffiths, the Mail on Sunday journalist Harry had sued. Court testimony revealed that Team Sussex had actually leaked stories directly to her, including tipping her off about the meeting between Sussex advisors and King Charles's team last year. Griffiths set up the photographer who captured those images. Then Harry and Meghan briefed the Telegraph, claiming someone at the palace must have leaked the information. Harry's entire narrative about his circle never being leaky collapsed under the weight of documented evidence. Charlotte Griffiths emerged from the trial with her own story to tell, one that painted Prince Harry in a light his public relations team would desperately prefer to avoid. She and Harry were actually friends. She had kept that secret for 15 years to protect him, never revealing the nature of their relationship despite working as a journalist covering royal affairs. Their Facebook messages were revealed in court during cross-examination. The exchanges were playful, even flirtatious, with references to missing snuggles and affectionate nicknames. Harry took the stand and claimed he barely remembered meeting her. The messages told a different story entirely. Griffiths described meeting Harry at a country house weekend when he was 20 years old. Within 10 seconds of their introduction, she says, he put a white pill in her mouth as some kind of trust test. She discreetly removed it without swallowing. The incident speaks to a recklessness that Harry has since tried to reframe as youthful indiscretion, but Griffiths experienced it firsthand and found it unsettling enough to remember decades later. She later clarified the pill was not dangerous, describing it as something to get your energy going. But the behavior itself revealed something about Harry's character at that time. The real revelation involved the leak about Charles's advisors meeting with Sussex representatives. Griffiths confirms the Sussexes directly briefed her about that meeting. She set up the photographer who captured the images that made international headlines. Then Harry and Meghan turned around and briefed the Telegraph, expressing anger that someone at the palace must have leaked the story. The pattern is damning. Create the leak, document the leak, then publicly blame the institution for leaking. This demolishes Harry's entire court argument. He insisted repeatedly that his circle was not leaky, that stories about him could only have been obtained through illegal methods because his friends and staff would never speak to journalists. The evidence proved otherwise. His team leaked constantly and strategically. In one piece of evidence presented during the trial, there was an email from Harry to his friend Tom Inskip asking how a story about Meghan attending a wedding got out. Inskip used the word leak himself, then explained his wife had told 5 friends at dinner. That is how journalism works, Griffiths explained. One person tells 5 people. 5 people tell 5 people. Griffiths has spoken publicly about wishing the friendship could be erased entirely. She protected him for years, keeping their connection private even as it could have generated major media interest. His repayment was inclusion in a lawsuit that could have destroyed her 18-year career at the Mail. She told interviewers she would have expected a thank you and a pat on the back, not legal action designed to paint her as a serious. The journalist noted that Harry seems to have rewritten history in his own mind. The wild child she knew in the early 2010s, the party-loving prince who frequented nightclubs and country house weekends, has been erased and replaced with the virtuous Californian humanitarian. People grow and change, Griffiths acknowledged, but you cannot simply pretend you were a saint in your 20s. Most people were a little wild during that period. The difference is most people do not later sue their former friends for documenting that wildness through legitimate reporting. While Harry was navigating courtroom disaster, the Sussex PR machine was simultaneously spinning a different story entirely. The family reunion with King Charles became a masterclass in contradiction, with competing narratives emerging before the tea had even cooled. The reported setup involved elaborate secrecy measures. Charles supposedly swore everyone to silence, only telling Queen Camilla at the last minute about the planned meeting. According to sources speaking to Katie Nicholl at Vanity Fair, not even William and Catherine were informed beforehand about the gathering at Highgrove. The suggestion strains credibility when you consider the logistics involved and the fact that William was playing at a major charity polo event that same day. Leaks started appearing almost immediately after the meeting concluded. Details dripped out to carefully selected journalists about the cloak and dagger arrangement, the emotional nature of the encounter, the presence of Archie and Lilibet meeting relatives they barely knew. Sources claimed Camilla dropped everything and rushed over from her nearby Ray Mill House estate. The framing suggested spontaneous warmth and familial reconciliation. Think about that framing for a moment. Are we really meant to believe that Charles would not have discussed this meeting with his wife beforehand? That William would not have received a warning before his charity polo event, knowing that journalists might start shouting questions about his brother? The narrative asks us to accept that the king keeps secrets from his closest family members, but somehow cannot prevent details from reaching Vanity Fair within 48 hours. Sources close to the Sussexes told Nickel they are keeping the meeting top secret. They have not said anything to anyone. The agreement was made before they met the king, that nothing would be shared, no photos, no details, and yet here we are, reading about it in detail. The meeting itself tells the real story when you examine the details. It was tea, not dinner. It lasted approximately 1 hour. The children were brought to see relatives they had barely met. Reports indicate attorneys were present during the gathering. This was not a loving family reunion with extended time to reconnect and rebuild relationships. This was a carefully managed, legally supervised encounter with clear boundaries and limited duration. Royal commentator Rob Shooter pointed out an ownership detail that most observers missed. Highgrove is actually owned by Prince William as part of the Duchy of Cornwall. The king rents the property from his son. Harry had to visit his brother's property to see his father, a humbling geographic reality that speaks to how much the family dynamics have shifted since his departure. Can you imagine having to rock up slinking with your tail between your legs and go and see your dad at a house that was owned by your brother? Shooter observed. Staff within Buckingham Palace reportedly pushed back against Harry staying at the residence. They did not want to serve him, did not want to make his bed or prepare his meals or clean up after him. Similar staff rebellion had occurred with Prince Andrew before his relocation from Windsor. The people who take pride in working for the royal institution apparently draw lines at serving those they believe have betrayed it. Sources suggest this staff pushback was a significant factor in the invitation being revoked. While Harry navigates legal catastrophe and strained family dynamics, Meghan has secured a Daytime Emmy nomination for With Love, Meghan. The Sussex squad is treating this recognition like an Academy Award, but the context tells a very different story about where the show actually landed in the entertainment hierarchy.
And now, of course, Meghan believes that she's Emmy nominated, because she now believes, as having this award as a Emmy nominated person, that ultimately this changes everything.
This is the Daytime Emmys, not the Primetime Emmys where prestige dramas and major productions compete for recognition. With Love, Meghan was produced with a budget reportedly around $80 million, employed a crew of approximately 80 people, and was positioned as a primetime Netflix offering. The show was meant to compete at the highest level. Now suddenly it is seeking recognition in daytime categories against programming that most viewers have never encountered. The competition in the Outstanding Lifestyle Program category includes A Different Breed, a dog show, George to the Rescue, a home renovation program. The Motherhood and The Wizard of Paws round out the nominees. These are not bad shows necessarily, but they operate on entirely different budget scales and with different audience expectations than what Netflix originally promised for Meghan's cooking and lifestyle series. Here is what the nomination actually reveals when you examine the category breakdown. With Love, Meghan received a nomination for Outstanding Lifestyle Program. Meghan herself was not nominated for Outstanding Daytime Personality. The dog shows received nominations in multiple categories including directing and editing. Meghan's expensive, overproduced series got one nomination, and only one. A Different Breed and The Wizard of Paws both secured additional nominations that Meghan's show missed entirely. The Netflix numbers tell the truth about audience reception. Season 1 launched at position 383 on Netflix charts, with approximately 5.3 million viewers. Season 2 cratered to position 1200, with roughly 2 million viewers. That represents a drop of over 375% in viewership. This kind of audience collapse is why the show was cancelled, regardless of what celebratory Instagram posts might suggest. They filmed 16 episodes and split them into 2 releases so Meghan could claim a Season 2 renewal. There was no Season 2, it was all filmed in one production run. Industry response has been telling through its absence. Deadline, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter have not covered the nomination. These are the publications that matter in entertainment industry circles, the trades that signal whether something is worth paying attention to. Their silence speaks volumes about how Hollywood actually views this project. The Sussex Squad celebration versus reality presents a stark contrast. Supporters like Narinder Kaur have messaged critics claiming that an Emmy cannot be bought. Actually, Emmy campaigns are a massive industry. You absolutely can campaign your way to a nomination through targeted advertising, voter outreach, and strategic publicity. When your only competition is dog shows and home renovation programs, securing a nomination is not exactly a mark of exceptional achievement. Just when Harry needed to rebuild his credibility following the courtroom disaster, he chose to appear on rugby star Joe Marler's podcast. What followed was possibly the most embarrassing interview ever given by a member of the British royal family, a conversation that stripped away any remaining pretense of sophistication or self-awareness. The pubic hair discussion began when Marler asked about grooming routines. Harry proceeded to discuss his body hair maintenance in graphic detail, including a story about someone defecating in a shower. The son of the king, fifth in line to the throne, sharing bathroom humor on a podcast that would be distributed internationally. The conversation deteriorated from there. Harry joked extensively about defecating himself while driving on the M25 motorway, complete with details about misjudging a fart. He described having to double-check and then carry on driving after realizing what had happened. This is the man who has spent years presenting himself as a sensitive, thoughtful humanitarian focused on mental health awareness and veteran support. The interview revealed something that explains Meghan's reported frustration with her husband. Harry is not the evolved, conscious partner his public relations suggests. He is an immature man who never outgrew the crude humor of his privileged youth. Mike Graham's analysis cut through the noise. "There was a time when I thought she was the villain of the piece," Graham observed, "but actually I think it is him. He should know better. He was trained to be a member of the royal family." The occupation question during the podcast created another awkward moment. When asked what he does, Harry apparently listed himself as Prince of England and Duke, despite having left royal duties and moved to California. He seems genuinely confused about what he is anymore, caught between an identity he rejected and a new life that has not delivered the purpose he sought. He also reportedly listed influencer and inventor among his occupations, though what exactly he has invented remains unclear. Compare this podcast appearance to how William and Catherine handle themselves in public, how Princess Margaret once spoke on desert island discs with crisp eloquence and royal dignity. The contrast is devastating. One side of the family understands that representing the institution requires a certain standard of behavior. The other side believes that authenticity means sharing bodily function stories with millions of listeners. Graham summarized the situation with brutal honesty. He treats her like a surrogate mother because she is the mother he never had when Diana died when he was young. But he is a pathetic specimen. Harsh words, but the podcast provided ample evidence to support them. While Harry and Meghan fumbled through their UK visit, the palace executed a masterclass in strategic counter-programming that dominated the actual news cycle. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental. During the secret Highgrove meeting, hours away from London and carefully hidden from cameras, Catherine appeared at a polo match at Windsor. She kissed William in front of photographers, projecting unity, stability, and visible happiness. The images of a young couple in love contrasted sharply with whatever was happening behind closed doors in Gloucestershire. The next day brought Wimbledon. Catherine attended the gentlemen's final with George and Charlotte, handing out trophies to winners, embodying the glamorous and optimistic future of the British monarchy. These are the images that travel around the world, that remind audiences what the royal family looks like when it functions properly. The visual contrast could not have been more striking. A young, healthy, united family enjoying summer traditions versus two people who could not even confirm where they were staying or whether a meeting had actually occurred. Rob Shooter's assessment captured the situation perfectly. The people who have won this are Kate and William. Meghan and Harry, it is over. There is no picture. It is like it did not happen. Nobody is talking about it anymore in Britain. The Portugal detail adds another layer of context that the Sussex PR operation would prefer to minimize. Harry and Meghan did not fly in specially for this UK visit. They were already in Portugal, just an hour away by private jet. They dropped in for a few hours and left. They were not even in the United Kingdom for a full day. This was meant to be Meghan's opportunity to remind brands and potential business partners that she remains royal adjacent. She got nothing useful from the trip. No photo opportunity with the king or queen, no Windsor Castle appearance, no Buckingham Palace stay that could be used for future negotiations. Just a brief tea at William's property that Charles rents, with attorneys present and no documentation that the encounter even took place. The question nobody wants to answer directly involves money. How is Harry going to pay for all of this? The court costs represent a potentially significant financial burden. The figure being discussed is £50 million in total liability, with insurance covering perhaps $14 million. Whether Harry personally pays the remainder or how that shortfall gets addressed remains a separate question that the cost hearing will help clarify. The spare royalties that provided a major cash injection have largely dried up. Netflix contracts are not delivering what was originally promised. Polo flopped with audiences. With Love, Meghan was cancelled after one season that failed to attract sustainable viewership. Speculation has centered on Sir Elton John potentially covering the legal bill for his co-litigants. Elton has the money, certainly. His earnings from the Lion King franchise alone generate enormous ongoing royalties from productions running simultaneously around the world. But as Rob Shooter noted, your friends are your friends until you ask them to pay your legal bills. This kind of request could end the friendship entirely, creating another Beckham situation where a formerly close celebrity relationship dissolves over Sussex demands and expectations. King Charles once reportedly told the late Queen that he could not keep taking calls from Harry because I am not a bank. The prince apparently viewed his father as an unlimited source of financial support, calling repeatedly to discuss money even after moving to California and signing lucrative media deals. The Duke of Windsor parallel grows more relevant with each passing month. When Edward VIII was exiled after abdicating, he had to do increasingly absurd and desperate things to earn money. He and Wallis Simpson accepted questionable invitations, pursued undignified commercial opportunities, gradually diminished their standing through financial necessity. Commentators suggest Harry is approaching that territory, though without Edward's sophistication or Wallis's social connections to cushion the fall. Meghan reportedly warned Harry years ago that his legal obsession would lead to disaster. According to sources, she urged him to abandon the newspaper lawsuits and focus on building something in America. Now she watches him burn through money on failed litigation while her own ventures struggle to gain traction. The career question looms over everything. Harry listed his occupation as Prince of England and influencer/inventor. He has no actual job, no reliable income stream, just mounting legal bills and a shrinking public profile. The lifestyle they have built requires enormous ongoing expenditure. The Montecito mansion carries major costs. Security, even at reduced levels, remains expensive. Staff salaries, school fees for the children, travel, maintenance of their public image through events and appearances. None of this is getting cheaper, and the revenue streams that were supposed to fund it are not delivering what was anticipated. Money pressure can push public figures toward questionable opportunities, and the Sussexes may be approaching that threshold. Where does this actually leave them? The honest answer is that nobody knows, including probably Harry and Meghan themselves. The competing priorities have become impossible to ignore. Reports suggest Harry wants to return to the UK permanently. He misses his family, his friends, the structure that royal life provided, even when he claimed to resent it. Meghan is pursuing American celebrity with increasing desperation. Emmy campaigns, MasterChef appearances, projects that have nothing to do with Harry's interests or the humanitarian work they once claimed would define their post-royal identity. The Sandringham deal is effectively dead. Meghan is commercially exploiting royal titles on Australian television, while Harry faces financial pressure from lawsuits meant to prove he was the victim of media persecution. The agreement that was supposed to govern their departure from royal life has been violated so many times that it no longer serves any practical function. The Diana documentary still looms over every family interaction. Every private moment, the Althorpe visit, the children at Highgrove, potentially carries the shadow of future monetization. Speculation persists that footage of Archie and Lilibet at Diana's grave will appear in a Netflix project at some point. Every reconciliation attempt occurs under the suspicion that cameras might be rolling, that private conversations might become public content. The trust problem has become permanent. Harry's own court case revealed that his team leaks constantly and strategically. Charles can never share anything meaningful with his son, knowing it will end up in Vanity Fair or briefed to sympathetic journalists within days. The king wanted absolute secrecy about the Highgrove meeting. Details appeared almost immediately. This pattern will not change because it represents how the Sussexes operate, how they maintain relevance and generate income. William's position has become unambiguous. No photos, no acknowledgement, no warming of relations. The future king has made his choice about his brother, and nothing that happened during this visit suggests any reconsideration. The MasterChef episode airs July 26th. The daytime Emmy ceremony is scheduled for October. The legal costs hearing happens at the end of July. Harry's next Invictus event will come and go with varying degrees of media attention. These calendar dates will pass, new controversies will emerge, the cycle will continue. But the fundamental question remains unanswered. What exactly are Harry and Meghan building? Because right now, it looks like they are watching things fall apart. Him in one direction, chasing legal vindication and family reconciliation that grows more distant with each lawsuit and leaked conversation. Her in another direction, pursuing celebrity validation through cooking shows and award campaigns that deliver diminishing returns. The story is not over. The bills are coming due. The titles they cling to grow more disconnected from any actual royal function with each passing year, and no one on either side of the Atlantic seems to know what happens next. What do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments and make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the next one.